5 strangers stuck in a diner in the early days of the zombie apocalypse. Hi all, this is Jacobson and this is the second part of a short retelling of the zombie series Black Summer. The retelling of the first part can be found at the links in the video description. Enjoy watching it. The episode starts with Rose, Spears, Ryan, and Lance finding an abandoned school building and see a man walking by holding a leash. The man, Earl, pays no attention to them. As they enter the school, they decide to get some medical supplies. They walk into a music room to put the medical supplies. Ryan tries to play the drum, but is stopped by Rose. Lance plays the drum, but is stopped by Spears as the noise is able to attract zombies. Everybody decides to take a nap. When they wake up, they hear footsteps coming from the second floor. They leave the music room and looks around in the hallways. After looking around, they see a small boy. The boy seems to be afraid as he runs away from the group. Ryan uses his sign language trying to know where the boy went. Rose and Ryan began to search for the boy. They enter a basketball court and a PE changing room, but they leave immediately after getting nauseated upon seeing what appears to be corpses in the PE showers. With Rose no longer with Ryan, she tries to look for him, but she gets sidetracked by hearing cries of a kid, not the same boy that they saw earlier, so she manages to follow the sound. Spears and Lance return to the music room to discover that their medical supplies have been stolen. They look around in the hallways and look for an unlocked door. They enter the janitor's room to find a door key. Lance activates a tripwire and gets trapped inside. Rose still looks for the crying child. She sees that it is coming from the restroom. She enters the restroom and thinks she has found the child, only to reveal that it was just a school megaphone attached to the toilet. As a result, it changes from crying to creepy laughter. As Rose tries to leave, the door is locked from the outside and she struggles to get out. Ryan sees the boy once again, but upon turning around, he sees teenagers holding weapons. The gang ties his hands and hides his head with a shirt, then take him to the room where the other teens are. Spears hears the laughing megaphone coming from the restroom. He sees a plank attached to the door. Upon kicking it off, he opens the door and sees Rose trying to get out, so he takes her out of the restroom as the megaphone laughs louder. Rose still has to find Ryan. She and Spears encounter the teenagers. The leader asks Rose and Spears for the gun, but refuses. Rose finally sees Ryan. One of the teens remove the shirt from his head and untie his hands. The leader tells the boy to shoot Ryan when he moves. But since Ryan is deaf, he is unable to hear the leader. He moves, and Rose tells him not to, but the boy shoots Ryan's back, leading him into his demise. As Ryan transforms, Rose and Spears run away from him. They enter a classroom and finally sees the school exit. The man that Rose and Spears saw earlier helps them block the door by putting a table next to it to prevent the infected Ryan from chasing them. After the trio escape, the children kill the infected Ryan, reset their traps and leave the school door ajar for the next unsuspecting victims. Son and William try to sneak out of the diner and head east, but as they set out the zombies come rushing them from around the corner, forcing them back into the diner. Frustrated, they sit down in a booth, rejoining the other 3 people also stuck in the diner on Black Summer. Lance isn't dead after all. Just left for dead. He wanders around the school, sits down in the library, and picks up a book to read. Almost immediately he can hear distant screams and banging. He tries his best to ignore it, almost physically tries to hide inside the book. After a while, he can't take it anymore and leaves the library. He climbs up to the roof and is able to climb a water pipe back down to the ground outside. As he is about to leave, the children execute the other man they've been keeping captive, setting the new zombie after Lance. They cheer as Lance runs away, able to evade the zombie by weaving through the neighborhood. Once Lance has a chance to slow down and look around him, he's in a completely deserted street and completely alone. Lance wanders around town looking for anyone to team up with. He's maybe not so good on his own. He tries various shops and doors, but there's no one. He starts yelling, hoping someone will hear him and reveal themselves. He finds an unlocked car with keys, but the engine won't start. Then a dog runs by, but refuses Lance's calls to come over, which is especially depressing. Lance tries his luck at a grocery store and discovers that it's strangely totally unlooted. Lance goes shopping. Beer, cereal, canned goods, crackers, water. He's pretty satisfied with himself. He starts to take his items through the checkout, a force of habit maybe, and then remembers he needs a can opener. As he's finishing his shopping, though, a zombie comes in the store and Lance is on the run again. He's chased to a yard of school buses, where he climbs on top of one and decides just to sit down and wait up there as the zombie tirelessly tries to reach him. He seems safe enough for now, as the zombie doesn't seem able to climb up, but Lance definitely doesn't look relaxed. The zombie forgets about Lance long enough for him to think that he can sneak away, but instead he ends up teaching the zombie how to climb onto the bus. Lance dives off the top of the bus and crashes through the roof of a camper van. He takes off running again and tries to find safety in a firehouse. Instead, he gets cornered and decides to try to confront the zombie with an axe. He fails miserably as the axe gets caught in some clothes hangers as he rears back to swing. Lance runs again and hides in a local library in a scene that looks a lot like the raptor kitchen scene from the first Jurassic Park. A man finally comes to Lance's rescue, attacking the zombie and finally killing it, but not before he gets bitten. Lance, grateful but practical, thanks to the man, just before striking at him with a blunt object while his back is turned. Minnie and Carmen, the passengers of the sinister black truck that tried to run William and Son off the road, sit in their own booth in the diner. Minnie tells Carmen he's not afraid of anything, talking really big and tough to prove his manhood. He opens the blinds, which draws one of the zombies to where they sit, startling everyone in the diner. William and Minnie start threatening each other, while Son and Carmen hold them both back, telling them to settle down on Black Summer. The third passenger of the truck comes in from the back room with cans of food, saying they're lucky they found this place. He wants to team up to escape the zombies, but William doesn't trust him. His name is Phil, and he takes William aside to make a plan to team up and get to the stadium. But Phil is clearly super sketchy, talks about separating the able from the weak, splitting up and leaving people behind. Meanwhile, Carmen talks to Sunday. Neither of them could get on the trucks because they didn't have US papers. There is a thing called the Horde that Carmen has seen, a raging herd of zombies. They need to get to the stadium before they come, but they need to go through the war zone of downtown to get there, which means they need weapons. Son goes in the back and starts filling a potato sack with canned food. They have Son distract the zombies by tapping on the diner window from inside, while the rest of them go out and jump them. They struggle with them for a bit, but are unable to kill either of them. After a while, they all come running back into the diner. Rose and Spears walk through a wooded path with the stranger who saved them. Rose is exhausted, maybe dehydrated, and she has a hysterical moment where she believes she sees her daughter walking along ahead of them. While she's speaking out loud, pushes Spears out of the way to get closer and starts to cry from happiness and then hysteria. No one makes any comment on it or seems to take notice. She gets herself back together and they all just walk on. Phil wants to throw Son out to feed the zombies so that the rest of them can run away. He says that she's the weakest link, when in fact she's smarter and more capable than any of them. It eventually comes out that he thinks she's a foreign piece of shit, and that's what makes her the weakest link. He has Minnie and Carmen convinced to back him up, and while William struggles with a decision, he does the right thing and sides with Son. In the midst of a standoff, Son notices a scratch on Phil's arm, sowing fear about infection. Eventually, they all turn on Phil, knocking him senseless and throwing him outside to the zombies. Rose and Spears come across the diner, but can't get in because of the two zombies outside. Spears has 2 bullets, which is enough to take them down, if only they'd stand still. Just as he's trying to sneak up on one, William is throwing Phil out of the diner. Spears takes the opportunity to kill one, but misses the other. The rest of them come running out of the diner and attack the remaining zombie, while William kills Phil before he can turn. Rose looks on with a complicated expression: disgust, exhaustion, satisfaction, determination, who knows what else. Presumably refreshed and resupplied, the remaining survivors, William, Son, Rose, Spears, Minnie, Carmen, and the unnamed man, all leave the diner together